then, the headlines, they tend to move on pretty quickly.
Right. The main event's over as far as the news cycle is concerned.
Exactly. But for the nations right there on the front lines, the end of the drills, that doesn't mean the end of vigilance. Not even close.
It's like, the main show's finished, but the stage lights are definitely still burning bright.
Yeah, and everyone's still very much aware there could be an encore. An encore nobody really wants to see. So the question is, what does that sustained readiness actually look like when the world's attention, it's mostly shifted elsewhere? Today, we're going to take a deep dive into exactly that. We're drawing our insights from this really fascinating document, Poland's Post-Zapad Vigilance Brief. This isn't just about understanding a single moment in time. It's really about seeing how a nation like Poland navigates the very complex aftermath of significant military activity right next door.
And our mission for you, the listener, is to really get a handle on those intricate, sort of multi-layered decisions and preparations. What's involved when a country moves from that high alert, that surge posture,
right,
back to more of a steady state of readiness. But, and this is key, steady doesn't mean relaxed.
Not at all.
And it's not just about military strategy either. It touches the economy, borders, daily life, really.
So what can you learn about national resilience, about strategic planning, from looking at Poland's approach here, keeping layers up, buffers honest, comms tidy?
It's a fascinating case study.
It really is, and that's a critical starting point. The brief's lead story kind of sets the tone immediately. Drills wind down, vigilance stays up.
That phrase really captures it.
It does. It sums up a reality many might just overlook. Warsaw, the brief notes, is holding this layered posture. Okay, but what does that actually mean on the ground, beyond the words?
Yeah, what's the practical reality?
Well, we're talking combat air patrols, CAPs, essentially fighter jets actively patrolling the Eastern Arc.
Okay, active patrols.
Active patrols. Dusk, electronic warfare procedures, EW, basically using electromagnetic signals for detection or disruption, ready to go.
Ready, not necessarily active, but ready.
Exactly. And ministries already directing early SAFE funds, that's security assistance for Europe, towards Counter-UAS, counter-unmanned aerial systems.
Drones, counter-drones.
Right. And it's striking how early and prominent this investment in Counter-UAS is. What does that specific focus tell us? This continued focus on drones, what does it say about their sort of immediate security worries?
Well, what's particularly compelling here, I think, is how this layered posture, as they call it, really reflects a proactive and adaptive defense strategy.
It's not just waiting.
No, exactly. It acknowledges the threat doesn't just vanish when the exercise officially ends.
Yeah.
The security and diplomacy section gets into this with what they term afterglow watch.
Afterglow watch. I like that term.
Me too. It means units are redeploying across Belarus, right?
Yep.
But they anticipate these evening GSSEDU pockets, global navigation satellite system, electronic warfare pockets, as equipment starts to stand down.
So like electronic footprints?
Precisely. They're not just random signals. They're the digital traces of military gear being powered down or moved. Monitoring these electronic afterglows is, it's crucial.
Why specifically?
Because it gives you actionable intelligence on the actual withdrawal. It helps verify that what's supposed to be happening is happening.
Making sure there are no surprises.
Exactly. No lingering threats, no unforeseen deployments are missed. It's really about verifying intentions through observed actions, or the lack of actions.
Okay, that makes sense. And connecting directly back to that counter-UAS focus you mentioned.
Yes.
The brief gets pretty specific about where that money, that investment is going. It talks about priority lists forming around sensors, jammers, SHR systems, short-range air defense, repair spares, and importantly, specialized operator and EW training.
Right, the human element too.
Absolutely. These aren't just abstract ideas, they're tangible things, tangible skills. So given these very specific investments, what can we infer about Poland's most pressing security concerns right now? Are they making a calculated bet on a particular type of threat?
Well, if we connect those technical details to the bigger strategic picture, it really reveals something profound, I think. This isn't just reactive defense. It's not just about playing catch-up.
It's forward-looking.
It's about anticipating the continuing threat, particularly from, let's say, asymmetric capabilities like drones and electronic interference, which are, increasingly common.
Right.
The specific mention of sensors, jammers, SHR suggests they're building a comprehensive shield against aerial threats, both the physical ones and the electronic ones.
Multi-layered, like the posture itself.
Exactly. And crucially, that emphasis on training ensures the technology is actually used effectively. Having the kit is one thing. Knowing how to use it under pressure is another.
Good point.
This whole proactive mindset, I feel, is just perfectly summed up by that phrase in the brief's conclusion. Quiet skies aren't luck, they're logistics.
That really sticks with you, doesn't it?
It does. It's a powerful takeaway. Security isn't accidental. It's the direct result of meticulous planning, ongoing investment, and disciplined execution, even when everything seems calm.
Quiet skies aren't luck. They're logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah, it resonates. It really underscores the huge amount of unseen effort involved. But this vigilance, it's not just confined to military stuff, is it? Air defenses and maneuvers?
Oh, not at all.
What's really insightful is how this heightened state of readiness impacts daily life, impacts the economy. The brief's economy and market section gives us a peek.
Okay, how so?
It notes the National Bank of Poland's path, the MBP, with the core print now in, core inflation data, that is, and markets pricing in a steady, data-dependent glide into Q4.
Steady and data-dependent. That sounds relatively calm.
It does, right? What does this stability suggest about how Poland is managing its economic health while dealing with these geopolitical pressures right next door?
Well, that raises a really important question, doesn't it? How does an economy stay stable under these kinds of conditions? The brief suggests a remarkable degree of resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah, that core print now in core inflation, like you said, stripping out the volatile stuff like food and energy, gives a much steadier picture of the economy's underlying health.
A better signal.
A clearer signal, yes. And the fact that markets are pricing in this steady, data-dependent glide into Q4, that indicates investor confidence, a relatively calm outlook.
Despite the security situation.
Despite the security situation. It also mentions the Polish zloty, the PLN, and interest rates being range-bound, basically tracking Eurozone data and local energy prices.
So predictable movement.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And this isn't just stability for its own sake. It highlights something crucial. Strong governance and, importantly, transparent communication can help insulate an economy from immediate security shocks.
Preventing panic.
Exactly. Preventing panic, maintaining investor confidence. It's almost a blueprint for other nations facing similar pressures, you could argue.
That economic resilience is definitely impressive. So, okay, the financial picture seems steady. But how does the sustained vigilance show up in the day-to-day realities? Movement, trade, especially at the borders?
The borders, yes.
The borders and mobility section notes controls are easing gradually at the Belarus crossings. That sounds good initially.
But there's a but.
There's always a but. It immediately adds plan plus 30-60 minutes on ETAs today, and rail intermodal still absorbing some overflow. So what does this actually mean for you if you're trying to travel or move goods?
It means that while maybe the absolute tightest post-exercise restrictions are easing off, the operational tempo at the borders definitely hasn't snapped back to normal. That plan, plus 30-60 minutes on ETAs, that's a clear signal. Expect delays.
Pack some patience.
Definitely. And it's not just personal inconvenience. This has real knock-on effects for supply chains, for trade. The fact that rail and intermodal transport are still absorbing some overflow tells you that cargo, usually moving by road, is being shifted.
A logistical adjustment.
A broader adjustment, to cope with slower border crossings. And then there's this particularly stark detail, I thought, that really underscores the continuous subtle readiness.
What's that?
Airports. Ops normal. NOTAM playbook on standby for any mass strike nights.
Wow. NOTAM playbook on standby.
Yeah. A NOTAM notice to airmen, it's a critical alert for flight operations. Having a whole playbook ready for mass strike nights, even while daily operations are normal.
That speaks volumes.
It really does. It speaks volumes about the level of underlying, very sober preparedness.
Wow, yeah. That NOTAM playbook on standby for mass strike nights, that's a detail that really puts the level of readiness into short perspective. Okay, so to help us grasp all these connected complexities, the brief introduces a really useful analytical framework. It's called the Quick Insight Map, or SCALE.
SCALE. Yes, I found this quite insightful.
Me too. This is where it gives us a sort of comprehensive lens for thinking strategically, going way beyond just the military side of things.
Exactly. The SCALE framework provides this really nuanced way to look at preparedness across the whole society.
So let's break it down. S.
First, S is for stakeholders. This points out the diverse needs within a nation that's on high alert. Think about residents, right? They don't want a constant barrage of updates.
No, that would be stressful.
Right. They need clear, need-to-act alerts, actionable information, not just, noise. Logistics operators, on the other hand, they need predictable buffers. They can handle delays if they know about them up front, so they can plan.
Predictability is key for them.
Absolutely. And then you have SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. They're watching things like fuel and insurance costs very closely because those are direct economic impacts of any instability.
So it really shows how national security isn't just a government or military thing.
Not at all. It touches every part of civic and economic life.
Okay, next is C constraint flip. The brief says, clarity, volume, fewer, crisper notifications beat drip feed nudges. In stressful situations, what does that tell us about communicating effectively, especially for keeping public trust and, managing potential panic?
Oh, this is such a critical insight for crisis communication. In uncertain times, just flooding people with information can actually backfire.
Information overload.
Exactly. It leads to alarm fatigue or people just get overwhelmed. Clarity volume really emphasizes that quality beats quantity in communication. Fewer, clearer messages are easier to understand, absorb, and act on.
And it prevents people tuning out.
Precisely. It prevents desensitization. It's about managing information effectively to build public trust so that when a genuine need-to-act alert does arrive, people take it seriously. It's not just another drip feed nudge.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, after C comes A analogy. The brief uses this comparison.
Yeah.
Treat the frontier like winter ops. Slow, layered, disciplined. That paints a very clear picture.
This is a great analogy.
What does that convey about the mindset needed for this kind of prolonged vigilance, especially in a sensitive area like Poland's eastern border?
That analogy is incredibly insightful, I think. Winter ops immediately makes you think of, harsh conditions, right? Reduced visibility, slower movement, the need for really careful planning.
Deliberate action.
Very deliberate. It implies resilience, endurance, and accepting that quick, decisive moves might not always be possible or even wise. Slow, layered discipline promotes a methodical, careful approach. You build defenses, build responses step by step, rather than reacting impulsively.
Like building layers of clothing for the cold.
That's a good way to put it. It's a mindset that prioritizes safety, sustainability, and long-term effectiveness over sheer speed. Basically building a robust, enduring system.
Got it. Then we have L layers. This really hits home how interconnected everything is. It mentions a whole spectrum from micro, GNSS advisories, NOTAM timing, all the way up to macro alliance credibility. That's a huge range.
It is.
How does this show the vital link between seemingly small tactical details and the much bigger strategic implications for decision makers?
The layers part really underscores that everything is connected. It's a powerful lesson for strategic planners anywhere. Micro-level details, like, say, specific warnings about GNSS interference or the exact timing of flight restrictions via NOTAMs.
Seemingly small things.
They seem small, yeah, but they directly impact safety and operational freedom on the ground or in the air. And these small tactical details, collectively, they add up. They contribute to the macro-level outcomes.
Like how effectively a country can defend itself.
Exactly. And ultimately, it's alliance credibility. If a nation shows it can manage all these micro-level responses effectively, it signals strength and competence to its allies and also to potential adversaries.
So confidence is built on details.
Absolutely. Strategic confidence isn't just built on grand statements. It's built on the flawless execution of countless small, essential tasks.
Okay, and finally, E edge cases. The brief points out some specific, maybe surprising examples. Spoofing during medevac, debris false alarms in low-density areas. Why is planning for these unusual, low probability but potentially high-impact scenarios so important for real preparedness?
Planning for edge cases is just critical because these are the kinds of incidents that can escalate quickly or really undermine public confidence if they're not anticipated and handled well.
Like the medevac spoofing. That sounds nasty.
It's highly cynical, isn't it? A dangerous act of electronic warfare that could put humanitarian operations at risk. Similarly, debris, false alarms in low-density areas might seem minor.
But they tie up resources.
They consume valuable resources, yes.
Yeah.
They cause public anxiety. And they can desensitize responders if they keep happening and aren't managed correctly. By thinking through these unusual, maybe unlikely events, a nation makes its preparedness truly comprehensive.
Going beyond the obvious. Exactly. Moving beyond the most likely threats to consider the truly unexpected. That's really a hallmark of sophisticated strategic planning, and it's vital for maintaining trust.
The SCALE framework really does offer a fantastic way to understand all the nuances here. It's not just about the hardware, is it? It's communication, resilience, anticipating the weird stuff.
Couldn't agree more. It's a holistic view.
Okay, so let's shift to looking ahead. The brief gives us a what to watch 48, 72-hour section. It highlights specific things to keep an eye on.
The near-term indicators.
Right. It mentions redeploy nights, any border skirting UAVs or short EW spikes as gear stands down. Why are these particular events, even subtle things like brief electronic spikes, so important to monitor right after Zapad finishes? What do these signals really tell you?
Well, these observations give you real-time intelligence. They tell you how effectively and how genuinely the stand down is actually proceeding. Checking if things are really wrapping up.
Exactly. Those border skirting UAVs could be last-minute reconnaissance, maybe probing defenses. Those short EW spikes as gear stands down might indicate a non-standard shutdown, maybe something unusual happening.
Or maybe equipment being left on longer than expected.
Potentially.
Yeah.
For other purposes, monitoring these signals helps confirm whether the redeployment is truly benign and complete, or if there's some lingering activity that needs more attention. It's back to verifying intentions through observed actions or, the lack of them.
Okay. The brief also says to watch for safe sequencing. First, concrete purchase notices, sensors versus SURAD versus munitions. We touched on this earlier, but what will the order of the security assistance for Europe purchases tell us about how Poland's defense strategy is evolving going forward? It's like a strategic barometer, isn't it?
Absolutely. That sequencing of safe purchases isn't just about paperwork. It's a real-time strategic barometer, as you put it.
So what would different priorities suggest?
Well, if they prioritize sensors and jammers first, that might suggest a continued focus on intelligence gathering, early warning, maybe electronic countermeasures against those more subtle threats.
The EW side.
Right. If SHIRAD systems come first, that points towards strengthening direct physical air defense. If they prioritize buying munitions right away, that could signal a focus on readiness for more kinetic or traditional engagements.
So it reveals shifts in thinking.
It reveals critical shifts in Poland's threat perception and how they're allocating resources, often well before any big official policy changes are announced.
And one more thing to watch, NBP tone, post-core commentary, and any guidance into late Q4. How does the central bank's communication connect back to that economic stability we discussed and the sort of overall future outlook?
Yes, the National Bank of Poland's tone. Their commentary after the core inflation data and any guidance they give for the rest of the fourth quarter will be really crucial for understanding the economic side effects of this sustained vigilance. Well, if their tone stays confident, reassuring, it reinforces that message of economic stability and public resilience. But any hints of concern, any adjustments in monetary policy guidance, that could signal that the prolonged security posture is starting to put more pressure on the economy.
So it's an indicator of that balancing act.
Exactly. It's a key indicator of how effectively the nation is balancing its security needs with its economic health and how transparently they're communicating that balance to the markets and to the public.
Okay. So wrapping this up, what does all this mean for you, our listener? We've really unpacked Poland's shift from surge to steady after the Zapad exercise, but what's incredibly clear is that steady is anything but passive.
Far from it.
It involves constant layered vigilance, really meticulous logistics, and a highly disciplined approach to security across so many areas.
From electronic warfare to border checks, even economic messaging.
That's all interconnected.
And this brings us right back to that really powerful line from the brief sign-off. Quiet skies aren't luck, they're logistics.
There it is again.
It's just such a testament to the meticulous planning, the continuous coordination, the sustained effort that's required to maintain security and stability, especially when things might look calm on the surface.
It reminds us that knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and, applied.
Exactly. And Poland's approach here offers a really compelling case study in what comprehensive national preparedness looks like in practice.
It really does. So maybe a final thought for you to consider. Thinking about Poland's layered, disciplined approach, keeping layers up, buffers honest, and comms tidy, how does a nation actually pull off that balance between constant readiness and avoiding panic among its own people?
It's a very delicate dance.
It truly is. And maybe more personally, what elements of this layered, disciplined vigilance could you potentially apply when you're navigating complex situations? In your own life or maybe in your work?
That SCALE framework.
Yeah, think about how those SCALE insights, stakeholders, constraint flip, analogy, layers, edge cases, how could they inform your own strategic planning for anticipating challenges, for mitigating risks, something to mull over?